Rice Gum is a popular YouTuber. He makes a lot of okay, kind of funny videos. He started making music recently, and I haven't listened to it. But this is not him. This is Gum, psychedelic rock band. With their new album, The Underdog, consists of
Jay Watson.
Who's
a member of Pond and Tame Impala.
And this is his solo project, kind of breaking off from those two. Luckily, he's not done with those though.
Yeah. And I was actually really surprised by this record. I thought it was a lot of fun. At its core, I think this album has a lot of great production, a lot of great performances. I think lyrically it's fine. I just don't think that there's just not much depth to it. And that's the biggest problem. But I had a lot of fun with this. I think it has great production. Love the synths. Love the basses he uses throughout. Mm-hmm. Very psychedelic, very bright, very fun. Fantastic. Like, out of all the albums we're going to talk about this year, I think this is like one of the better ones to have on as background music. I think it's just very fun, very cheerful, very psychedelic, very mood-setting background music. And makes me think of acts such as Pond and Tame Impala, no duh, because he's been part of that, but it also makes me think of like artists such as like Mac DeMarco and Gorillaz and Pink Floyd, which is cool.
When Vincent asked me to describe the album to him before listening to it, I said it was like if Damon Albarn took over Pink Floyd forever. And that's like just seriously what it reminds me of. A lot of like Wish You Were Here kind of vibes.
So what does this album really consist of? It consists of like 38 minutes of just very psychedelic, very fun rock music. It doesn't have that much lyrical content or lyrical thread to it, but it has a lot of production thread and vocal performance thread, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. A lot of the tracks, they sound the same, but they're not too much the same. They all take place in the same universe, but they're not the same track over and over again. They all seem consistent with each other, and they also follow a lot of the same things, a lot of the same build up. Start off, I think the introduction is a bit too long. That's one of my biggest gripes. I think it just goes on too long, doesn't really go anywhere, and I wish it would build up into an actual track. But following up the Underdog, reminds me a lot of like Portugal Man with the high pitched vocals on that.
Yeah, I see that.
I think that's another artist I think you can compare them to. But I think it's a lot of fun. Still a good track. I think he actually does Portugal Man better than Portugal Man, to be honest. At least on this one track. On the track Say It Again, very catchy and hypnotic. This is what I'm looking for in my psychedelic rock. Just something repetitive, very hypnotic, very trance-inducing, very catchy. I'll say it again, but you won't understand. I'll say it again, but you won't understand. I'll say it again, but you won't. It's very just catchy, and it's been stuck. Like at first, I didn't like it, but as more I listen to the track, the more it just like it gets engraved into my head, and it will never escape. The track Serotonin. The synths are amazing, and this is when I realized like the production of this album was like fantastic. The first listen, and the hook is very heartful and sentimental. This is where I think it reminds me of Damon Albarn. Also, some of the the vocal performance also kind of sounds like Mac DeMarco, but like I think the drum in the background, the electronic drum he uses reminds me of My Old Man, like the drum that Mac DeMarco used on that track. So that's why I'm making that comparison. And after all, the progression and build-up is fantastic. Like, I think this album just has a lot of good progression, has a lot of good build-up. I think overall, this album is just a lot of fun. I think moments throughout the entire project build on top of each other. They all follow a bit too much of the same structure, and they may not have too much to them, but I think in the end, it's just... there's not that much depth to it, but I don't think there needed to be. I think this is a very consistent and very, very well established, very well understood project of what it's going for. It's not going to reinvent the wheel, but it's trying to just make a fun album that may sound like a bunch of different artists, but it meshes all these things together and makes a very stylistically notable sound that's not, again, it's not reinventing the wheel, it's not doing something completely out there, but it's just very consistent, very fun, has peaks, ups and downs, moments throughout it. I think production, again, is fantastic. I love the synths on this album, love the basses, And I don't think I can mention much more about this. I think it's just a very well-established, very consistently made project. I want to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I don't think I really have anything else to say. I think it was just a very fun listen, and it's a great background listen. I would recommend you to that, but like, I don't think there's much depth for you to actually give it a lot of, you don't really need to pay attention to this.
That makes sense. I didn't particularly like care for this album a ton when I first heard it, and it wasn't because it was bad. It was because it didn't have a lot going on for it. You know, it was good background music, and so I felt like I didn't have to like pay attention to it. But since then, it has really like grown on me. Tracks like you mentioned, the Underdog, Serotonin, After All from the Sun, Couldn't See Past My Ego. And I like these tracks a lot, and I think that they, like you said, like are really good, just little like pieces of background music. Yeah. It's not psychedelic rock in the way that like I think like Pink Floyd is psychedelic rock,
or like Tame Impala is psychedelic rock.
Yeah, I'm trying to say like I guess I didn't really finish. It's sometimes I feel like psychedelic rock has like a negative connotation, and like it talks about like negative things, or just kind of like shoegazing, you know, like you don't have to like presently be there, and you might not have to like presently be here for this, but at least it's like upbeat and cheerful. Tame Impala I also find to be like mostly like upbeat, not always cheerful, but like this I was in a good mood listening to it, you know, and may I say, this is a great length for an album. Yeah. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't it doesn't like take too long to get where it's going. There are a lot of like really cool build-ups and then fallbacks, I guess. Only to build back up again. It's not like it's building up the entire album towards one thing at the end, because I don't think that that's always as satisfying. You need like a lot of little build-ups and then fallbacks after you reach like your main event, you know, or main events. And I think this album like did that really well. Each song has some sort of build-up, or each like set of songs has some sort of thing that it's building up towards,
or progression.
One of my least favorite tracks on here are the Blue Marble. I think that one goes on too long, and I think it's just kind of stupid. Yeah, but, like everything else, I think is a pretty enjoyable track, and I honestly like don't mind listening to it. And it's just nice to have. It's almost like a bubblegummy kind of background music for you. I'm gonna give it a 7. It's impossible to not like it. Yeah, it's impossible to not like feel at least kind of happy or kind of upbeat when you're listening to it. The album cover is so colorful. Gum just seems I don't know. It's like a fun game or a fun name. Yeah, and then of course we all know like Jay Watson is a good producer and a good musician. I can't dislike him or the things that he's trying to do here. So I would definitely recommend it.